And for many gardeners in Alaska, Memorial Day weekend has been the traditional date when it's safe to start planting. Joining us to talk about planting and the growing season is Mike Monterusso, Executive Director of the Alaska Botanical Garden. Mike, thanks for joining us today. As I said, most Alaskans, particularly here in South Central, wait until Memorial Day to plant. Is that still the case?
I would say so. I think that it's when folks have time, typically, or perhaps maybe they take an extra day and get that stuff done around house. But it is certainly the safe point, and it's really nighttime temperatures you're looking at, stabilizing hopefully above 40 is really the trigger for when it's generally safe.
Many gardeners are in a never-ending fight with weeds, particularly dandelions. What do you do best to get rid of them?
Right, so for dandelions specifically, I've got some tools here that I brought with me to demonstrate different techniques for different activities. Dandelions specifically, if I'm gonna go out and target dandelions, I'm gonna use a dandelion puller, which specifically gets the root, and that's what you need to do and think about with dandelions is get the root, otherwise it's just gonna grow back. And this particular tool gives you a lot of leverage to get that root out of the ground.
And you touched on my next question about the tool. Any other tools that are of note this year? Anything new that you've come across that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily anything new, but there are some that maybe are lesser known that I really look to in my experience. We're talking about weeds, right, with dandelions. And so here's a weeding tool that we call the winged weeder. It's for weeding a lot of small weeds very quickly. Think of it as sort of an eraser. And what you're doing is chopping the weeds off at the surface of the ground and just exhausting the nutrients, the resources of that plant so it doesn't return, or that weed. Other things that I look for as far as weeding, the hori hori knife is a good all-around tool that I certainly wouldn't want to be without. There are different versions of this one. We have these available at the garden. You can buy them online as well. But it is very durable and very versatile as far as weeding or dividing perennials, or you can even plant annuals with it. Another one I like to point out is the small shovel, what we call the D-handled perennial shovel. So if you have anything smaller than, say, a medium-sized shrub, so this is all your perennials and small plants, very effective for that. It's also very lightweight. You can carry this thing around all day, not really feel it, as opposed to a full-size shovel. And briefly, but certainly don't forget the tried and true pruners later in the season.
All right, Mike Monterusso, Executive Director of the Alaska Botanical Garden. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.